Hello and welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man who once played a psychic in a cop show. It's David Cross.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah, that's who says I wasn't actually a psychic, you know?
Well, that's why you got cast. You know, sometimes they do featured kind of extras. You wouldn't be an extra, though, because you were psychic. So were you the advisor, and then they needed a real psychic, and an actor couldn't pull it off, so they brought you in?
Exactly. I just knew so much, and I couldn't impart enough into that actor. They're just like, bring him in instead, you know? Drawing on my real world experience, you know, I've helped hundreds of police officers solve hundreds of crimes, you know, murder, petty theft, lost cars, you know, you name it.
Oh, hey, I'm thinking of a word. What is it?
It's a great question. Jet ski.
Wow, you did it.
I know I did it. Yeah, I'm a psychic.
You're good, man. You're good.
Thank you.
Or are you like Bradley Cooper from Nightmare Alley, where you just know what someone might be thinking? You're that good. You run the math. You're Bradley Cooper from Limitless. He plays a lot of smart con men. But yeah, you play one of those types of characters, and you can just zap through everything like Chuck from the show Chuck, and you know what I'll say.
The smart con man with daddy issues. That's every movie, right? Like, I'm just trying to prove my dad right by scamming people.
Well, I'll tell you what, son, robbing people is no way to live.
It pays the bills.
You like your Corvette, Dad? I bought that for you. Well, I'll keep it for this once. You know. So listen, we have until next year to talk about Bloodshot again for its third anniversary. Time flies. So we figured, let's celebrate another first anniversary of a movie that you and I absolutely adore, and that is the 2021 film directed by James Wan that might be probably the greatest film ever made. Being completely honest, well, no, it's not. It might be one of my favorite films released in the last, how old am I? 40 years. How's that sound?
I mean, perfect. It's definitely up there, right?
Malignant. It's
Malignant, yeah.
And listen, you know, I don't think we've ever talked about this, but so I watched this in a hospital room with Megan, my wife, at night because our daughter was born 6 weeks early, so we were burning some time. So I brought an HDMI cable. I plugged in the computer into the TV, put on Malignant, and it's considered like it's a crazy movie to put on, but it's so bonkers. I did turn it off about 30 minutes in because I got so scared. But the next day when we watched it, I was able to we started it back over again. I was really into it, and it had a huge smile on my face. And it's a weird movie to watch when you're in a hospital about to give birth to a baby, but it's not me, my wife. But yeah, it's I just watched it, man, and I just thought this is like I guess I was just on the wavelength from the very beginning, and so were you, correct?
Yeah, and that wavelength is bonkers.
Yes.
Is that what you would say? Like purposely bonkers, but not campy. It's a very unique thing.
If you went into this movie grumpy and you see that scene where she goes, Sydney, I'm adopted, and then the score kicks in, and then you either have like a dolly move in or a zoom in on the Sydney's face, you're probably thinking like, what is this movie? This movie's terrible. And a lot of people complained about her driving up to the edge of the cliff. There's a lot of people just saying this movie, they're like, this movie is terrible. Is this the Ishtar of this? I'm like, no, it's actually a really good movie that's very confident. And listen, you give James Wan $40 million. That's $900 million in the Russo brothers' hands. So I saw The Gray Man, trust me. That's like $900 million. Like, James Wan can stretch $40 million.
That too.
James Wan can stretch. It's fun. Ryan Gosling carries it, but like you're watching this movie and you're like, this is $200 million. Now I know you got to pay the actors up a lot front because there's no back end, but still, like what James Wan can do on a $40 million budget is untouchable. Like maybe, you know, Michael Bay did Ambulance for around $35 million. That was impressive, but I just think he was given everything he wanted. He got like a spider cam to troll through the house to follow Madison as she walked around the house and up the stairs. I mean, he had every toy he wanted and more in this movie, and it's beautiful, David.
Yeah, and I was trying to think to myself, like, why is he doing this movie? I know this is an earnest question. I was like, why is he doing Malignant. I mean, we know he's a horror buff, right? Like he's one of the top grossing producers, directors of all time.
He's
And that's not an
yeah,
exaggeration, right?
he's the most. I think he's the most important horror producer director of the 21st century. I
Yeah,
really
by
believe
far.
it. Yeah, by far.
No, that's yeah, it's true. And I was thinking, like, why is he doing this movie? Why would the studio let him do this movie? And I was like, you know what? They're holding on to him for Aquaman 2 and future stuff because they know he's so good, right? This feels like a I need to clear the air, do something fun before I dive into a massive project that's done by committee.
Hmm.
Um,
I
and
like they
we are
said dive into making Aquaman. That makes me so happy.
not yeah not on purpose. Um, but yeah, that's basically where I was at. I was like, this is a passion project. He clearly loves horror. He loves action. He's smashing them together to see what happens. You know, his wife was involved in this. This is basically a movie to keep him happy and keep him in the fold, because he's going to be doing a lot more awesome things. Like, let's not forget, this guy directed Fast Seven, my favorite of the Fast series, by the way.
$1 billion.
Yeah, right. It's like you want to do a $40 million movie, whatever, dude.
Yeah.
Here it is. Go have fun.
Yeah, Aquaman made $1 billion, and we want to keep you around. Here's 40 million. Here's chump change for Malignant.
Change.
And
Yeah.
listen, like this movie blows my mind because I remember watching it and I remember going, "This is amazing." The chair throw, just I actually love all the characters in this movie. I think Detective Krakoa Shaw. I love Detective Regina Moss. The more I watch this movie, the more I like George Young's performance, and Michelle Brianna White. Like I love their performances more. I actually love everything about this movie more. But I remember watching it and going, people aren't gonna like this. Like, I remember thinking,
Yeah.
but the critical score is 76% Rotten Tomatoes, and I mean,
It's higher than I thought it would be, honestly.
right? People were on board with it, and I think it was it's 6.2 on IMDb. I don't know why I say I think, but yeah, it's one of those movies that I just remember watching, and I just thought people aren't gonna like this because I mean, it is so like over the top gory. Like we were gonna talk about the 80s influences. I mean, that jailhouse murder scene is just pure blood and practical guts. It's just yeah. James Wan was given $40 million to keep him busy, and he churned out something just absolutely beautiful. And also too, like, we don't get many new horror villains, and I mean we do, like, we get It Follows, we have the Babadook, those kind of movies, but this is like Gabriel. This feels like a Freddy, a Jason, a Pinhead, old school throwback practical effect monster that lives in the back of Annabelle Wallace's head, which is insane. And I'm glad she got it. She did Annabelle, and I'm so glad that she was able to go from Annabelle to Malignant, like a James Wan produced movie to a James Wan directed, because this one's so much better than Annabelle. But
I haven't seen Annabelle. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's flat. The second two are good, but it's just for me, this movie brings in a new villain. It's over the top gory. I almost didn't know where it was gonna go, and it defied expectations at every single turn. And we'll bring it up later, but I just want to get your thoughts about two scenes in particular. So I love the chase scene between Detective Krakoa Shaw and Gabriel, where Gabriel jumps down the fire escapes, goes underground, and normally this is where the cop dies. Like, this is where Bill Paxton in Predator 2 dies. This is where the cop dies. But Krakoa Shaw lives, and he chases the thing down, and the thing escapes, and then he lives to fight another day. Did you think Shaw was going to die in that chase scene?
Oh yeah. I mean, that's the thing about this movie. Really, all the main characters die or survive.
Yeah.
All the main characters survive. It's all the, I'm gonna call them blue shirts who are killed. It's everyone who's in a cop uniform.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna die, and so I was reading reviews before we were going to talk about this, and I remember just someone saying this movie has no humor in it, and I was like,
what?
Did we watch the same movie? What Malignant does really, really well is have the characters be voices for the audience. There's so many times when Krakoa is just like, what the hell? I can't believe this. And that's supposed to be funny. And I found it really funny. And if you missed that, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you.
Like, there's a scene where in the beginning when Gabriel is breaking out and going into the room to find out his family, and one of the doctors just goes, He's broadcasting his thought over the radio.
I laughed at the radio.
Come on. Like the
God.
score. I mean, the way that they zoom in on Maddie Hassan's face, Sydney's face when she goes, Sydney, I'm adopted. Like that's supposed to be funny. Like this movie is so over the top that, it's so playful. That's what I love about a James Wan movie is that they're so playful. Like if you think about, let's see, Insidious 2, that movie feels like a kind of like a haunted house hayride. You just get thrown all over the place like a maniac. In Conjuring, the clapping scene, it's just him having fun. Like James Wan wants jump scares. He wants you to enjoy yourself. He wants you to have fun. And yeah, it's just weird. I read that too. There's no humor in Insidious. I was like, did you watch Insidious? Like, did you? But do you think it was just not on their wavelength? Do you think the broadcast the thoughts that were broadcasted via the radio?
You have to like really want a B movie, because this is like a super competent B movie, right? It's like half war movie, half action movie, all channeling an operatic feel, right? Like this is a way you have to like really understand what you're watching. If you're going in for just horror or just action, like you're probably not gonna like this.
No, you're and also too, I mean, there's another scene that I absolutely adore, and that's when Sydney rolls up to I have the name up here. I wrote it. Let's see. When she goes up to the Simian Research Hospital, she drives up to the edge of a cliff, parks. Then she walks inside the hospital and is just pulling down folders willy-nilly. She hears a noise. And you're like, great. Gabriel's going to be in there. He's going to kidnap her. He's going to kill her. This is going to be bad. The next shot is her watching the tapes with her mom. And you're just going, wait, what?
I laughed.
Like, it's amazing, because normally that character dies in that part. So that's the humor in this movie. Like, this movie really defies expectations. It has a blast. I mean, the score is so operatic. And then, we've talked about, like, also they talked about, like, Giallo films. Giallo films, whatever, Giallo. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. I'm sorry. But, those movies were very operatic. They were very, fueled by color, fueled by mood. And then you have the 80s slashers. I think he found a good way to sort of combine those two elements. And the co-writer, Akela Cooper, she also talked about her love of kind of Italian cinema, schlocky Italian cinema, and 80s slashers. And I think they synthesized it really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does have a very much that Gallo. I don't know how to pronounce it either, and I'm a horror fan. I just always read it. Yeah, it's probably what it is.
I heard Eli Roth say it on his documentary about 7,000 times. I heard it about 7,000 times, and I was like, okay. I was like, this doesn't sound right. And listen, I've watched him. Like, I've seen Barbarian Sound Studio. Get over yourselves. But he wanted he wanted the blood. He wanted the chaos. He wanted the mood. Like, it's very almost melodramatic in the beginning.
I was going to say that. It's operatic. It's a vibe, right? It's just like this movie runs on all vibe, no smarts.
Dude, like
at least the plot, like the camera, everything's super. Like, how do I put it? So it's like it's thought really hard about how to be dumb.
And that's why I love it, because it's a very good B movie. It's just, this movie is a B movie. It's about a parasitic twin living in someone's back that they were able to cut out of her, but then they had to smash its head into the back of her skull. But it's opened up when her abusive husband, who sits in a bed and watching MMA clips during the day, smacks her head against a wall. He's then killed, and then she has visions, and then the police get involved. And it's insane. It's an insane movie. But I do think I think it's just, once again, this is what James Wan's really good at. You give him $200 million. You give him Furious $7. You give him $40 million. You give him total creative control. He's not going to make a flop. And I know this movie made $34 million worldwide, but people do adore it now. And they also had to deal with HBO Max. So it didn't necessarily lose money. But it
got punished by the COVID. Let's be honest. It would have done much better in the theater, but COVID's COVID. It happened.
And this is before everything really ramped back up. There were some hits last year, but nothing like this year. And so it's just watching this movie. Oh man. But he knows how to control a budget. I don't think James Wan, he doesn't go full passion project, if that makes sense. Like, he's still is such a skilled director, he can still rein it in and handle that money. I mean, Aquaman, right? Aquaman is like, I feel like you just chug 6 pounds of sugar and go watch a movie, and it still works. I mean, there's catapults underwater that shoot lava balls, and there's Dolph Lundgren riding a battle seahorse. It's all wonderful, man. There's Patrick Wilson doing his great evil guy thing, but I just think he knows how to. I don't know. I think Juan understands filmmaking and he understands audiences. This one's more niche, and he'll admit that, but I think people are gonna adore this movie in the coming years.
Yeah, who would have thought the Saw guy ended up here?
Oh gosh, man, can we talk about that? Like Saw kicked off a massive run for cinema, and then he goes and he makes, he make Death Warrant, Dead Silence, which are they're all right, but then he comes back with Insidious, $1.5 million budget. A haunted house. The family's like, this house is haunted. We're going to move. They move, and the thing comes with them. Makes bank. Insidious 2 makes more money. Spawns a franchise with Lin Shaye, who's amazing. The 5th Insidious movie made like 180 million worldwide. Then he goes to The Conjuring and Conjuring 2, which make Marvel money. And then The Nun makes 300 million. He produces that. This guy in the horror genre he's somehow like really, after Dead Silence and Death Warrant, has connected with the mainstream. Like I feel like he understands horror and audiences. Would you say?
Yeah. And let's hope this movie gets a sequel. I'm here for it. So I want to throw an idea out here.
Yeah.
More of a fan theory. So the first time I watched this, I thought a lot about the science behind it, right? And I've heard a lot of people talk about the science behind it, and they're just like, this doesn't make any sense. This is crazy, right? And then I started thinking about it from a supernatural perspective and thinking about Gabriel's name, which is the biblical. And I was like, you know what? I think there's a reading of this movie where Gabriel is the Antichrist and didn't fully form and lives in the back of her head.
Yeah, think about it. It's super powerful. Can control radio waves. Can make pacemakers explode. The thing has power, has psychic powers, and it can toss hospital beds, which...
Evil from birth.
Poor little Sydney Lake would have been smashed by that thing, but I'm glad she made it because she's a great horror sibling. But I love that reading because, I tried to watch a video that was like, Malignant explained, and normally they crush my soul, but I thought I could maybe get a couple new things to talk about since I've covered this movie on the pod before. But it was like, I'm going to try to explain how this works because it's dumb and this wouldn't work in the real world. I'm like, what? This movie doesn't happen in the real world. This is, yes, I like that reading a lot because, yeah, why not? Why would it have powers?
Yeah, it's X-Men. Ba-na-na-na-na.
Oh, it is X-Men. Yeah, I mean, maybe this is, think about it though. This could be a world with mutants, and Madison becomes like the Crow and battling other mutants in this world.
Yeah, totally. I was just trying to think of ways like why Gabriel exists, right? Like you don't really need to go down this route, but that's just sort of the reading I saw because it was like,
well, Gabriel is always evil clear. Too, like always evil, right, David?
Yeah, that's the thing. Gabriel was always evil. Gabriel's mother was assaulted. Like he's just always been evil.
It's not nature versus nurture. It's just I'm evil.
Yeah.
Oh man, I didn't even think about that. You know what's crazy? I haven't even thought once about the logic of this movie. Like, how would her head form? What would her hair be like? Because this movie's so unconcerned with all of that exploring those options seem like a wild way. Like, if It Follows seems very grounded. So it's kind of fun to explore where the creature actually goes and where it travels because it's based on actual landmarks. This movie's bonkers town. So yeah, that's the first time I think I've ever thought about the logistics of what Gabriel might be. And I love it.
And the only reason I'm thinking about it is because it's in context of the next movie, right? It's like, are they going to extend the lore even more?
I hope so. I mean,
that's just a way to do it.
Dude, there's mind prisons.
There's mind prisons. You can't keep me here. I know, but I'll be ready when you get out. And I was like, I hope that's next week.
Yeah, let's do it again. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna man, because now she's just as powerful as Gabriel was.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's like, it was always me. But then she's a mutant. She's Damien from Omen. Yeah, she's making nurses jump off buildings.
Yeah, I think we're circling back to something here, but I think you said you had 3 scenes you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, so we talked about Sydney surviving. We talked about Detective Kakoa Shaw.
Mm-hmm.
And the other scene I want to talk about is the spider cam shot where Madison's just walking through the first floor of her house, climbs up the second floor of her house, and walks into her room. And I remember when I first watched this movie, her bedroom, when I first watched this movie, I'm like, they have a gigantic house. This husband's a ne'er-do-well. She works in a medical field. I don't know if they could really afford this gigantic home in Seattle, which people get to quickly. So you have a gigantic home close to downtown Seattle. That's a lot of money. But I think the only reason they have a huge house is that so James Wan could do a spider cam shot in the house. Like, that's it. Like, I want a huge house so that I can do a spider cam shot and make it look amazing from this grid that we have planned out. Like, that's one of the most ambitious shots of 2021. And when I watched it, it made me so happy. Just James Wan getting new technology and then just nailing this cool shot. And it feels organic to the world because if you look at the shots, there's so many stylish moments in this film. So it's not out of place. Sometimes you watch a movie and you're like, why is that there? Like, this isn't a stylish movie. Why is it a Dutch angle right now? But yeah, watching that scene, it just felt beautiful. Like, what did you think about the spider cam shot where it's over her head?
Yeah, you definitely notice it, and it is really cool, and it fits a lot of the other scenes in the movie. This, again, you kind of nailed it. Like, it is a very stylish, over the top film with a lot of flourishes. So a scene that I wanted to talk about, I knew it was coming, and I still laughed really hard, which might make me a bad person.
Oh, what is it?
Is when the mother fell through the roof.
Oh man.
I knew it was coming. I was like, she's in the house. I know she's in the house. And then she fell through at the right time, and I just laughed so hard because of not of her being hurt. It's just everything happened at the right moment. You know, it just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, the coincidences are major that you would escape at that moment and fall when the detectives are there.
Yeah. I also had a good chuckle when Kakoa fell in the dumpster, and in my notes it's like, dumpster fall.
And I love the stuntman who did that because sometimes stuntmen's movements are just so gracious. You don't not gracious. They're so graceful. Jeez Louise. But I'm gracious for them. I think that's right. Yeah, they're so graceful that it just doesn't look great because like that was probably the greatest fall I've ever seen in my life. But this stuntman just swamped on that trash can. Like, it's the sound design, the sound mix, and just the thwomp on that, and then the fall off of it. It's so believable too, and I think it sets up Kakoa Shaw as just being an absolute tank.
And because he says some great lines with this, because he's like, "Are you kidding me?" He's totally just like, "I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm underground. What is happening?"
I love it, and I love his interaction with Bosco too. He's like, "Bosco, you here?" And he goes, "No." And then, like, I like Bosco. No. And he's like, oh, I thought it was the only good-looking guy left. But I also love that on Shaw's desk there is a coffee pot. Like, there's little moments like that where he's just staying up late. His partner has to go home. She missed the date. She missed date night. He apologizes. And then he talks to this weirdo named Bosco, who he thought he was the only good-looking guy there. But when I first watched the movie, the detective felt a little flat. But after watching it about 6 times, I'm like, this dude's awesome. I like Kakoa Shaw a lot. And I want to see him in more movies. Like, I like that. He's cool. Like, I like this guy, George Young, a lot. Actually, I liked his both those detectives. I mean, you get a spinoff from Insidious. Why not have Detective Regina Moss and Detective Kakoa Shaw as the paranormal unit? Just getting hit with chairs and getting sliced and like yelling at each other and dealing with all this crazy stuff. It'd be like Wellington Paranormal, but with these two. In Seattle.
Constantly, they just get beat up every episode, and just, like, they don't stand a chance. Yet somehow they're still kicking around.
I mean, like Shaw's next level because he does fight Gabriel to not like a standstill, but Gabriel does run away from Shaw. So that dude's a beast. Man, I thought he was so gone. I thought he was toast. And when he survived that chase, that's why this movie kept winning me over. It's because, oh, Shaw's dead. Oh, he's alive. Oh, Sydney's dead. Wait, Sydney's alive? And then you watch the beginning scene with the melodramatic like husband and wife, Madison and her husband, and then he just dies. He just gets wiped out, gets his head slammed into a wall, and then the movie just kicks off. And then I also like the little touches in this movie, like when Sydney shows up in that dress, and she works at I wrote in my notes. Let's see, where does she work at? Where did I write it?
It's a princess, but I don't know where.
I have the name. Oh, Family Planet. She works at Family Planet. Just seeing her show up in that outfit, and then the production design for when he goes and kills the doctor with the red neon lights blaring into his room. Like there's so many little touches in this movie that just made me so happy. And like with those Italian films, the color red was so important, and the color red pops up a lot in this movie too. So it's I don't know. Has a horror movie made you happier in the last few years? Has there been a horror movie that you've watched and it's just made you happy?
Maybe. I mean, this movie makes me happy, but I am a huge fan of Happy Death Day.
Yeah.
Like that, I love that movie, adore it. And for me, it's always going to be Happy Death Day over Malignant. But Malignant's pretty close. Let's be honest about it.
Man, that Jessica Roth, she is so good in Happy Death Day. That's a performance. That's one of the most. You know what's interesting? Very rarely do characters come in fully formed, and I think Tree from Happy Death Day feels so lived in almost immediately, and you just like the person almost immediately in that. Oh man, what a movie! Like her sarcastic roommate at the sorority, the one I don't know who she is but yeah, that's good. I guess
fingers crossed for the third one. Like let's hope we get it.
Why don't they make it? Because the first one made bank, the second one cost what, 20 million, made 60 million. Like you put it out in the theater, give it a $10 million budget, it'll make 50 million at least worldwide. Like you're not going to lose money on it. It's the Blumhouse model. It's going to make money.
I don't know. They got to get to it. I really need it.
Well, I got some good news for you. Megan bought me the Happy Death Day 2 4K from Shout Factory. And so we're going to watch that. And there's a new commentary on it. So be on the lookout for a Happy Death Day 2 episode coming up. I almost forgot you. I did.
That's amazing.
And another one of my favorite lines in this movie is when there's so many names. Maddie Hassan, who she's actually really good in We Summon the Darkness. I did an episode with Sanandi about that movie, and she's two totally different characters in those movies. But I love that she comes over to the house. It's been all locked up. She kind of goes up to a window, gets in. She's like, I got a casserole in the car. Like, I don't know why I like that line so much, but she just brought her sister a casserole. But she couldn't bring it in because she had to climb up to the porch and then climb up on the porch to get into a second floor window. It's just a weird thing. And dude, you know what's cool too is how many horror siblings, I don't care if I'm just falling on this movie, how many horror siblings just believe their sister or brother?
It very rarely happens in horror movies. There's always the cycle of you don't know what you're talking about, you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of like a really good horror siblings.
Sydney Lake's just ride or die with her sister Madison, even when she learns, Sydney, I'm adopted.
That scene is so just like, what? Where is my mind?
Yes, it's the Pixies for sure. I just love that so much. But also too, one more thing. James Wan cited Dario Argento in his films like Phenomena and Trauma but those were made in 93 and 85. Oh, never mind. But he referenced Argento as an Italian filmmaker of this. But like I feel like that's where like the operatic stuff comes in. But then you get the 80s slasher, Jason decapitating 3 people with a machete. We spent a lot of time with Friday the 13th, David.
Oh God, yeah, we know a lot about Friday the 13th.
But just like watching that, did you see that prison scene, Scott? Like,
no, not at all.
No.
And that's sort of what I wanted to talk about, because it goes from like this is a horror movie with like an action movie to all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is a gore movie, right? It cycles through like multiple different films before it settles on something. So what it's like family drama into horror, into action, into gore, into I don't know,
family drama again.
Yeah, it rips. It goes. It's like if you're not along for the ride, it doesn't care. Like it's gonna do what it wants to do.
Like Gabriel snaps arms, punches through people's bodies, smashes their heads through bars and boots. It is brutal. I was not ready for the brutality of that prison fight. And then when Gabriel just starts killing all of the cops, just wiping them out, and then throws a chair? We talked about the Wolfman. Where would you rank? What's a better chair throw? Wolfman, or when Anthony Hopkins throws the chair, or Malignant when Gabriel throws the chair?
It's definitely Malignant.
He
it's
hits
100%.
moving targets.
He does. I mean, is this now a good time to do the best chair throw draft? It feels like it's a natural segue.
Yeah, I mean, we should. Yeah, why not?
So just to tell your audience, we're going to do a best chair throw draft. To tell you specifically, Mark, this was a really hard draft to put together. There are fewer chair throws than you would think. So we are most likely going to have some doubles in here.
I mean, we've talked about several of them.
Oh, yeah, I know. I realized that when I started researching. But I'm going to toss it to you first draft. Oh. And I'm going to throw this out there. This movie counts as a chair throw. Just going to say it.
I'm taking it. I'm taking Malignant first.
Okay.
Is that okay? Right.
No, that's perfect because it's going to end up in our final.
Yeah.
Not 100%. When I did,
I know what you're going to take.
Oh, you do? Yeah, absolutely. There's really only one other scene that pops up more as much as Malignant's chair throw. That's the Mummy.
Yeah.
and Brendan Fraser tossing a chair at Benny. Rip Benny, I still miss you. I love that scene. It's great. Oh, let me redo that. I love that scene. It's great.
Dude, Benny just gets wiped out by a burly Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
It's lovely. I mean, listen, both those guys, they're like, everyone in The Mummy is on A+ performances, but just poor Kevin J. O'Connor getting hit with that chair. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, all right. So since you got Malignant, I did Malignant, you did The Mummy. I'm going to take The Wolfman because I remember sitting in the theater, and when Anthony Hopkins just tosses a gigantic Victorian chair into the 20 feet in the air, I think I said to myself, I have a new favorite movie scene, and that was it.
That's awesome. Oh, well, I guess I'll take for number 2, Mission Impossible Fallout.
Yep.
I think this is a
when he throws it through the thing before the office people look at him, right?
Yeah, before he jumps out the window, and it's funny, and it's peak Mission Impossible because it shows that Ethan Hunt, is doing literally everything he possibly can and just barely getting by.
I love that movie. I just had to watch it again, and I had to do the math of his running after that when he runs across that bridge. So I found the bridge, I mapped it, I found the length of it, and it took him 25 seconds to run across it, which means he hit a total speed of 28 miles per hour.
You know what I think about that? That's slow for Tom Cruise. That man runs 50 miles an hour everywhere he goes.
Oh man, I mean, but 20, he beat Bolt, man. He ran faster than Bolt.
Ethan Hunt, don't mess with him.
All right, so for my third pick, I'm just gonna take Whiplash because
have to.
The chair throwing in that is insane. So all day Whiplash. I'm surprised he just didn't absorb the soul of the chair.
Okay, I'm gonna go with a fun movie that I think is gonna get cult status. So Nobody.
Oh yeah.
There's a scene in there where the bad guy grabs a chair, walks into a hospital, and throws it at his henchman, and it's very funny because it hits the henchman in the head. And that whole movie is criminally underrated. I really like it. But yeah, Nobody.
You know what sucks about Nobody? Well, nothing, because it's really good. But it came out kind of in a time, came out during COVID, reviewed well, people loved it, but no one's talked about it really since. So Norbert and I are going to do an episode about it. So I'm very excited to get the love back out there because people need to know about the train fight. People need to know about Bob Odenkirk wiping people out.
Very unexpected.
So I think you're going to be jealous of my fourth pick. I think you are. I think you're going to scream. And that's Ernest Scared Stupid. During the scene where the famous Miak scene, which you and I have spent all hours talking about and you researching, Trantor sees there's a troll in front of Trantor and Trantor throws it. out of the way. So I got to go with my boy, Trantor the Troll, throwing stuff.
Awesome. That's a really good one. Okay. I'm running low on chair throws here. I have one that I don't really think is a great throw.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna throw two by you. I mean, maybe I can only do four. There's a scene in Moneyball where Brad Pitt tosses a chair, just randomly, right? He's mad at something. That's not my favorite one. But the second one I'm going to tell you about, I'm stretching the rules pretty far here, and it's Poltergeist. And what I mean by that is when you put the chair on the linoleum after the poltergeist shows up, it slides across the linoleum. In a way, that could be like throwing a chair across the linoleum.
So the chair goes. So wait, I don't remember.
Do you remember Poltergeist? So yeah, so it's after like the chairs are stacked and all the stuff are stacked, and Coach comes home and his wife's like, "Hey, watch this," and she puts a chair in a circle, and then the chair slides across the linoleum to another circle, and then she does it with the kid in the football helmet.
I don't even remember that scene, but I'll let you have it. So Poltergeist.
I mean, honestly, it's very much of a stretch because I was struggling, honestly, very much struggling to fill out this list.
Well, okay. No, I got to find a fifth one. You know, World's End, he uses chairs to beat people up. In the Warriors, they hit somebody with a chair. I got it. We have an episode coming out soon. This is my fifth pick. We have an episode about Collateral. This will come out beforehand. But Tom Cruise throws a chair through a glass wall separated in an office building. And Tom Cruise went to jump over the chair but slipped and then fell on the chair. And Michael Mann left it in. But that's my fifth one. Malignant. Not Malignant. Collateral.
You're telling me you have two Tom Cruises in this?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He's a chair throwing maniac. All right. I like that. So we have Malignant, The Wolfman, Whiplash, Ernest Scared Stupid, Collateral. You have The Mummy, Mission Impossible, Fallout, Nobody, Poltergeist. And did you have a fifth one? No, you got your fifth one now.
I mean, it would be Moneyball because I can't think of another one. It's, again, I was like, there's not as many. It's both a trope and it's so tropey that you can't find a lot of.
Man, I kind of in Top Secret they have a bar fight, but he doesn't throw the chair because they're underwater. But it makes me happy.
Well, you can throw it, but it's just, not gonna do much.
I love that movie. It makes me so happy. So you're gonna do Moneyball. I mean, he still throws a chair.
He does. It's like tossing it on the ground.
That was a lot of fun. You put me on. I didn't even know that was coming, and I'm very happy with my list because
you were able to do it very quickly.
Well, because I had my top two, and then I thought about Ernest Scared Stupid, and then I thought about Collateral. Whiplash was the one I had to type in real quick, but then I just remembered it. J.K. Simmons. I feel like the whole movie he's throwing chairs. He's just juggling chairs to throw at people, and now I got to watch the Poltergeist chair scene. But yeah, I mean, look at these movies. These are some prestige movies we found.
If we narrow this down to five, I'm assuming we're going to be on the same list here. Like, it's definitely Malignant and The Mummy.
Yes, definitely.
And Whiplash.
All right.
And then the other two, it's like.
All right, so we got Malignant, we got Mummy, we have Whiplash. I mean, Ernest Scared Stupid's not a great chair throw.
No, I am pretty interested in Collateral.
I mean, because it's a blooper, and that stayed in the movie. So we got to have a cruiser. We got to have a cruiser in
exactly.
Here. All right, so now we have Wolfman, Ernest Scared Stupid, Mission Impossible, Fallout, Nobody, Poltergeist, and Moneyball.
Why don't we do Wolfman? Underappreciated.
Oh, yeah. Please. You just made my night. Watching Anthony Hopkins throw that thing in the air. Beautiful. Perfection. Oh.
So good.
Oh, man. So, but this chair throw, like that, they practiced that. This wasn't something where on the day James Wan went, you know what? Let's throw a chair. Let's throw a chair. Let's do it. They had to plan. This chair was thrown. It perfectly hit two people who were running. The gag was worked out. That chair wasn't real. It's stunt actors got hit. This was a scene written in a movie, and it makes me so happy. But also too, while watching the behind the scenes video, there's a 15-minute documentary that. I mean, I would have loved the commentary, but I still learned a lot from this documentary and all the interviews that I found. But I kind of love where they brought in two contortionists for this movie. World famous contortionists, two of them. And I know I just repeated myself, but it's wonderful watching these world famous like artists who can bend in all these crazy directions, seeing how hard it was to pretend like they could move everywhere backwards, breathe backwards, move backwards, throw backwards, and watching the behind the scenes footage of how they acted was beautiful. And it gives Gabriel such a weird movement. But I do love that during some scenes they just brought in contortionists who had a blob on for a face, just tossing stuff around. Like, it added so much to this movie.
Yeah, it's very unique looking. I'm not going to forget it. Very spidery, maybe.
Yeah.
Jerky.
Yeah.
It's definitely unique. I mean, the first time I was watching, I was like, how does this work? And then I just had to turn my brain off, right? It's like, that's not what this movie's trying to ask you. This movie's just like, get on, take the ride. Don't think about it too hard.
And also, it's nice watching Annabelle Wallis away from the Mummy remake and in a movie. She's not given much to do here, but it would be nice to see if they make a sequel, her sort of being more of a crime fighter, if that makes sense. Because she had to take the unselfish job here and just play the woman who is freaking out. So it'd be fun to see her as, you know how Batman is, is the latest Batman Year 2? It'd be fun to see Madison Year 2.
Madison.
Crime fighting.
Pretty funny.
And like,
yeah.
You know, also too, what I like what Annabelle Wallis says is that she said that she took this movie because James Wan is at the bravest point of his career. And this was a brave movie to make. This is a hard sell for many people, David, but he doesn't care. And he has all the backing and he made a beautiful film. So I don't think I think she's telling the truth. I don't think this is EPK interview stuff. Like, I think James Wan right now is one of the few directors in the world who could get $40 million to make this movie.
I mean, he doesn't, I mean, he obviously cares, but he doesn't have to. Like, he's still executive producer of 2 incredibly popular franchises and attached to 2 mega franchises on top of that.
Wow.
Like he can do whatever he wants, right? Like that's actually a question I had for you. Like earlier I mentioned he's what, 14, somewhere 14 or 17, like I guess most wealthy producer or has produced the most money. Like he's still relatively young. There's a chance that he's going to definitely crack the top 5.
Oh, I mean, he's gonna. I mean, you have Aquaman 2, you have The Nun 2, you have, you know, he'll probably reboot his franchises, and he's probably still producing the Saw movies. So, I mean, he is just raking it in. And you know what's crazy is some directors want to keep their streaks alive. Like, you know, like right now with Jordan Peele, I feel like there's a lot of pressure on him to keep making Jordan Peele successful movies, because I think a lot of people, if he doesn't want that momentum to stop. He's made 3 bangers back to back to back. And so I feel like he has a lot of pressure on his shoulders. I guess James Wan right now is at a point in his career where in between projects he can make a $40 million movie about a killer named Gabriel living in the back of a woman named Madison's head, and have a chair throw. Like, it's insane and heightened and crazy, but I don't think Wan really cares about, I think he cares deeply about audiences, otherwise this movie wouldn't be successful. But this is kind of a flex move by him, I think, that he took something so weird, so non-mainstream, like he doesn't care. And that makes me very happy. I'm not saying Jordan Peele cares. I'm just saying I feel like some directors have a lot of pressure to keep making successful. Like Wes Anderson. If Wes Anderson ever makes a total dud, I mean, people are just going to dive on him. Look at Terrence Malick. They dove on Terrence Malick after he had the 2 The Wonder, and then that movie with Christian Bale being a gigolo, just running all over town. So people began to just dive on him. Like, I don't think Wan cares about any of that. He's like, I've been making horror movies that critics don't really like, and I'm rich, so I'm making Malignant, and that makes me very happy.
You know, one thing we didn't talk about is the weapon. And in slashers, I'm preaching to the choir, I know it. In slashers, the weapon is very important, right?
Yeah.
And you have to have a unique weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea that Gabriel has essentially a trophy that's a knife is very funny to me. I was like, oh, you finally found a unique weapon. Like, it's not hedge clippers. It's this is an interesting way to do it.
I'm hiring whoever made that trophy, because that thing is unstoppable. And whoever put the work into that, like, that's a craftsperson who made that trophy. So it's so distinctive. It's so weird. It comes from a trophy. He kills the poor lady from Deep Blue Sea, who she dies in Deep Blue Sea too, which makes me sad. But yeah, I think it's right up there, and it doesn't feel like some of these movies. I know. I love Behind the Mask, and he has that scythe. So like that's more of a joke. But sometimes you watch some movies and you're like, these weapons aren't really too. I don't know. They just feel like they had to give the killer something different. But this one feels quite organic in the world because it's so insane.
I mean, I guess your options are like give him a butcher knife or try to find something just so bizarre, like you don't even like how would he do this? Like a sharpened old school doorknob, right?
Oh.
like uh
Oh,
and
you're
you
locked
can
out.
either go either way, right? You have to go either way.
Like you can't go Sledgehammer.
No.
You can't
Uh,
go. I mean, let's look at the iconic ones. Michael Myers has his knife. Ghostface has a
mhm.
knife and a gun. Jason has a machete. Freddy has his gloves.
Yeah. What's his name? Chucky has a knife.
Mm-hmm. Tall Man's orb. Leatherface's
Or
chainsaw.
yeah.
Candyman's hook. And Gabriel's trophy.
Gabriel's trophy. Yeah.
Oh man. Like, I don't know. I love it. I just think, I don't know. It's such a out there movie. And you know what's great is you and I watch a lot of movies, and sometimes you just know where it's going. Like, obviously we don't know every line, but you know the 3-act structure, you know the hero's journey, you know the final destination type thing, you know the Saw. You're kind of just, I feel like the Saw movies, as much as I enjoy them, there are some great twists and turns, but it's kind of like watching a home renovation show. You're like, oh, well, here's the thing, then there's the commercial, then they're going to show it to the people at the end. Like, Saw is kind of like that. Not all of them, but I just think Malignant, I couldn't have predicted anything. If I would have sat here and just been like, this is what it is. Oh yeah, this is what's going to happen. I'd have been wrong every time. So I love movies like these because you don't know what's going to happen, and I don't know, it just makes me happy that critics liked it at least, and audiences reasonably like it. But a lot of people hated it, which kind of bums me out.
Oh yeah, I know. I mean, it made the circuit across all of the bad movie podcasts. And what's funny about it, the ones I listened to, they like went into it like, oh yeah, I thought this was gonna be a really bad movie. That's not. All of them like it sort of was unfairly maligned at the very beginning of its release, and has had to like fight its way back up into the cult status.
Well, you have to get on its wavelength. I think the problem with recently releasing a movie like this on HBO Max, and the world had to do it because of the pandemic, but you put this on at 1 p.m. during a weekday when you have 4 people over and you're going back and forth to the refrigerator and going to the bathroom, like, you're not going to get in the mood of this. This is a movie that you kind of have to sit in for a while and like allow yourself to embrace the insanity. So if you miss that experience, that's maybe why the critical scores are so much higher, because, hey, your puppy. That's why the critical scores are so much higher, because critics could immerse themselves in the theater. But I think maybe audiences watched this and went, this is stupid. Even though they were just eating a burrito, they walked in, sat down, saw, I'm adopted bit, and like, this movie sucks. And then they see her pulling up to the cliff later on. Oh yeah, I'm gonna tweet this. So yeah, I don't know. I can't speak for everybody, but that seems kind of like what it was. But I mean, maybe that's not good for James Wan. Maybe he should have anticipated that this is a movie you need to get embraced in, and people aren't really down for that. But not embraced. People need to get immersed in. So yeah, I mean, teach your own, but if you're going to watch this movie, try to sit with it. I don't know if that makes sense.
Do it in the dark, sit with it, big screen TV.
Oh, yeah.
Mark, I am ready to do the real draft we were going to do tonight.
Uh-oh. All right, let's do it.
That's the best horror movie weapons. Or is it best or unique? Because I went with unique. I'm willing just to go best horror movie weapons and just see where we land.
All right, yeah. I'll let you have first pick this time. Oh,
okay.
All right. What are you going to do?
Oh, I have one that I know it's probably my favorite, but it's such a odd thing. I'm actually going to go more recent. I'm going to go with the bread slicer from Fear Street. And that's the third in the trilogy.
Oh.
Out of nowhere, brutal death, really sad death. It wouldn't work in real life, but in film, wonderful.
I mean, come on. That was a fun trilogy, man. I kind of wish we had another one of those, or I could go back and enjoy the 3 all over again, because I really dug that.
I did too, especially the release, like once a week. Oh, I was really hit the sweet spot for me.
Okay, so I'm up. Can I take the VHS tape from Ring?
Huh. I guess so. It is. I mean, how do they die in that? I don't actually know.
She comes out of the TV and just kills, like, scares you to death.
Huh.
But it's not really a weapon. So I'm gonna take the basketball from Deadly Friend because I've used that gif so many times. Just watching Christy Swanson smack the lady from Throw Mama from Throw Mama from the train?
Yep.
Right in the head and just have it explode with a basketball. I'm doing that. Deadly Friend.
That's a funny one. I'm not a huge fan of that movie. If you read about it, man, it went through it was a hard road. Let's put it that way. And it's not the movie that was Wes Craven, right? That's not the movie Wes Craven wanted to make.
No, not at all. Yeah, I just love that scene. That's it. Just give me that scene. It's fine. That's fine. Just give me that.
So I am gonna pick. This is probably my favorite because it's so wild, and that is the Tall Man's Orbs from Phantasm.
Oh yeah.
Like I absolutely love the concept behind it because it's bizarre and probably the most unique weapon you can imagine.
The orb? Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, well, it's also just we're gonna put a knife on a flying silver ball, right? It's like your if your options like we talked about earlier were butcher knife or unique, like they nailed unique.
Yeah, that thing's a nightmare, and it's so iconic too. I mean, you can't think about the Tall Man without that weapon.
I love that movie. It is. I can't believe he was so young when he made it. Oh, it's great.
All right, so I'm up next. Okay, this is gonna sound weird. Are we talking about villains with are we talking about any weapon used to kill somebody in a horror movie, or a villain's primary weapon? Or
I was picking like the villain, the antagonist's primary weapon.
Oh, got it. Because I love that scene in Gremlins when she uses the microwave to
It's so good.
to kill the gremlin.
It is also a really good scene.
I mean, I love that Final Destination 2, Death uses a logging truck, but I won't use that. So I'm gonna do, let's see, Leslie Vernon's scythe from Behind the Mask. I love his weapon. I think Leslie Vernon has a. Wait, let me look.
He has a scythe. Yeah,
Yeah,
he definitely has.
Yeah. So I love his scythe because it's just so over the top. It's, yeah, Leslie Vernon's scythe. That's what I'm taking.
Yeah. Okay. In Final Destinations, the weapon is water.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
always the water gets you. I'm gonna take the power drill guitar from Slumber Party Massacre 2. It's I mean, I've never seen that movie. I usually try to pick movies I've seen. I haven't seen that movie, but I know poster. It is drilled. That's not a pun. Drilled in my brain.
Oh gosh, I haven't even seen that. I'll have to look that up when we're done here. All right. Okay. Let's see. I guess I can't use the pogo stick from Leprechaun.
I think if I could use a bread slicer, I think you can use the pogo.
You know what though? I'm gonna be boring, and I'm just gonna use Ghostface knife because
it's iconic.
Yeah,
it is iconic.
And I mean,
are you?
It's not just Ghostface. Everyone's like, I could probably use a gun, but I'm gonna use a knife in 5 movies. But I think it adds a close quarters menace, and then since they're such untrained killers, I dig the knife.
At it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna take the ghost knife, Ghostface knife, because you have. I don't know. For me, I kind of have to.
Yeah. I mean, thing is, like, I think the holy trinity of slashers, right? Michael, of Jason, out of Freddy. I think the most unique weapon's Freddy's. That's the one that terrifies me the most because it was made specifically to kill. Everything else was like a found item that became deadly.
Yeah, I mean, he made a weapon to murder people.
So I'm gonna pick that. I know it feels a little bit like cheating, but I still think it's a super unique weapon.
Oh, come on. Yeah, you gotta have it. Freddy Glove. I mean, it's iconic. You can't go anywhere without it. Freddy Glove. Perfect. And original Nightmare on Elm Street, you'll say the first one?
Yeah, original. Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Best one.
Since that's a big hitter, I'm going to bring out a big hitter too, and I'm going to take Jack Torrance and his axe.
Oh, I thought you were going to take Ash's chainsaw.
No, but villains. I'm going villains. I already did my basketball. I did my scythe. So I'm going to go kind of weird, and I'm going to take not weird. I'm gonna go mainstream, but that axe is so iconic. You have to include the axe. So that's my pick. You can't separate them.
If I remember correctly, in the book, it was a mallet. It was like croquet mallet.
Yeah.
What is scarier, a croquet mallet or a axe?
Croquet mallet, because that would take a long time to kill you probably.
Yeah, it's true. That is very true.
Like,
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
You can get beat for a while. All right, so you get the last pick.
Well, I was gonna pick Genitalia from Teeth, but technically she's the main character, and she's not a bad guy, so that doesn't work. Be the fish hook from I Know What You Did Last Summer?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fish hook's more interesting than again Jason's machete or Michael's butcher knife. But you know what? The scene where in the latest Halloween movie where he kills someone with fluorescent light, that is pretty terrifying.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still gonna go with the fish hook. My gut says fish hook.
It's I mean, that kill scene with Sarah Michelle Gellar, it's really well shot and it's very drawn out. I think that's actually a really good kind of cat and mouse hunting scene. And the fish hook, once again, adds a nice close quarters aspect to it. I dig it. I like your style.
Worked real hard at this.
My
lifetime of watching horror movies.
My last one, and it's got to be Leatherface's Chainsaw. But I don't like the movie, but the latest Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie that was released in 2022, that chainsaw was made by elves. Like whoever made Thor's hammer made that chainsaw. Because that thing, I've worked with chainsaws plenty. They stick, they need gas, they get off, they get off the saw, you have to like replace them, you have to like screw them back in. It's a pain in the butt. This chainsaw goes through wood, metal, steel, bone, everything, all of it, easily. So yeah, I think whoever made Thor's hammer made Leatherface's chainsaw in the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie.
Indri, I need a chainsaw, quick. This is telling on myself, but I do not like chainsaw. I don't like any of them.
Oh man.
And I'm a big horror fan, so like I tell people that and they're like, get out. I'm like, I deserve that.
Now, you know what? I watched the first one when I was 18 with some buddies, and it was at night. We just put it in, and it just destroyed all of us. Like we watched it in just perfect conditions. None of us had cell phones yet. I'm not saying kids who have cell phones can really enjoy movies now. I'm not saying that. I'm just setting the scene for y'all. We just sat down and watched it, very naive, and just watching that movie and how just bloody and feral and dirty and sweaty it was really affected me, man. Like that really has stuck with me. So I dig the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre a lot. The second one's kind of funny. I fell asleep during the remake, the one with Jessica Biel. I fell asleep in the theater. So yeah, there's one with Tanya Raymond, who was a guest on Deep Blue Sea, the podcast. She does the one with Daddario. They had one where she's his cousin.
Yeah, I don't remember that one.
Yeah.
Again, like they're just not like.
Honorable mention.
I honestly don't really even like I like the first Saw, but I don't like the ones after it. Anything, I don't know. Some horror movies are just mean. I like.
Oh, okay.
They're impersonal in a way. And that always felt like Saw and Texas Chainsaw Massacre were fit into that mold where they're mean in a way that I don't jive with, and I can't figure out why. It just doesn't fit.
Oh, well, that makes sense. I mean, listen, that movie, like these Saw movies are just meant to watch people die. And there is plot attached to it. But yeah, I mean, the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a very mean movie. I mean, you get people getting poked with stick, tortured, psychological torture, horrible murder. It was just meant to make you feel terrible. So I get it. Can we give an honorable mentions?
Yes, absolutely.
Jason's machete from Jason Lives. Because he hacks through 3 heads with one swing.
Worth it.
Yeah. Are we going to narrow this down, or is this just our draft?
Yeah, I think we want to narrow this down. Honestly, the only one that I think I absolutely want to keep is the orb. Yeah, that's number 1 for me, and then Freddy's glove is number 2. We could argue about whether we want to keep that one, but the orb is what I really like.
Oh yeah, we got to do Freddy's glove. I think maybe we should do Jack Torrance's axe to be boring, but
that's great.
It's such an iconic scene. There's Scream Face? I was gonna call him Ghostface's knife. There's the guitar from Slumber Party. There's the scythe. There's the basketball. We have the fish hook, the bread slicer. I don't know. I guess, I don't know. I kind of think Scream Knife, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, Scream Knife's iconic and it's coming back up. They've been able to keep making movies for the last 25 years. Well, Friday the 13th wallows, which rumor has it that there is one coming out
Good.
next year. Yeah, we don't know if it's true, but according to TikTok, or one of the producers has a TikTok that says a new one's coming out. It's very convoluted, like conspiracy theories. But yeah, that knife would be great.
And let's do bread slicer because that scene hurt.
Yeah, I was going to say bread slicer. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that scene hurt. That legit hurt my soul. I like it. So we have the ghost face knife. We have the Jack Torrance axe. We have the bread slicer from Fear Street. We have the phantasm orb, and we have Freddy's glove.
Those are some pretty unique things.
I'm very happy.
I was trying to think of. So one of the things I was going to ask you, I was like, well, if you were a serial killer, what would your weapon be? And I realized that I couldn't come up with anything. I was like, because it has to be personal, right? You have to be like, oh, it has to tie into my personality and what I do and what I like. And it's like, you can't remove it from who you are. And the only thing I could come up with was like, I guess I could carry around a bunch of Blu-rays and use them as like discs, like throw them at people. That's all I got.
Oh, we got another one. 2 weeks notice is in their back.
Go to Walmart and buy 30 copies of like the dollar DVDs they have and just it's time to whip it.
Oh, like that's how they catch you.
Evil Gambit.
That's how they catch you, which makes me very happy.
Why is it 12 copies of the fourth Transformers?
Yeah. Look for bulk orders.
This is a great movie. We should definitely make it.
I mean, I guess you could go. I guess if you went to like Goodwill and bought a ton of $2 DVDs there, and then Redbox does sales occasionally for $2 for their movies, you could be untracked. Just be classy about it, David.
Just be classy about it.
Man, I don't even want to get in that headspace. I'm thinking about.
You don't have to.
Catapults.
All right, I need you to chase after me and then stand directly here, okay? Wait.
Hidden catapults. Like during chase scenes, they're like, "Where is he?" And they follow a path and just a hidden catapult in the ground just shoots them 75 yards. That's mine, catapult.
It's out into the water. Oh, damn it!
I gauged it too wrong. I set the tension too high. The catapult killer strikes again. That's it.
Before we leave this topic, I do want to point out that there is a book called Death by Umbrella: The 100 Weirdest Horror Movie Weapons. Buy it on Amazon. And I'm going to farther say that I recommend you buy it. But if you want to check out what those weapons are, you can just pull up the preview because each chapter says the name of the weapon. You don't even have to like read it.
Is Miak on there?
No, but you can imagine some of them like the basketball is 100% on there. Let's see here. The blender in Your Next, forgot all about that.
Oh, what a great scene.
There's a lot of
Aaron
a pot of boiling hot dog water in my Bloody Valentine, which I never knew. I'm just randomly reading this. An Ear of Corn and Sleepwalkers. Never finished that movie.
Oh, and there's a whole book about it?
It's a whole book. It's 100 death scenes, essentially, and like weird things they've used.
I should do jet ski action scenes, the book.
I mean, you can get 50 out of it?
50 pages?
50 chapters, so 50 jet ski explosions. I don't know what the.
I could probably do. No, I couldn't. But I could just do jet ski cinema and just write about jet ski moments and talk about those. Or I could just write a novella. Oh, brother. Hey, well, thank you. Hey, what do you want to plug before we get out here?
So go check out Award Wieners. We had an episode drop today, so I don't know when your episode is going to drop.
The 10th.
The 10th? Okay, so we have an episode on, my God, I just went a little bit somewhere else. Blade and Ghost Rider. So the episode is about forgotten Marvel movies. But more traditionally, we typically do a Best Picture winner and then make a hot dog recipe about it. What I like to tell people is if you listen to the podcast, you're going to learn something. We take a lot of pride in trying to hunt down facts and talk about the movie and then give our interpretation of.
No, you definitely learn something. You guys go deep. You guys put in a lot.
Sometimes it's too deep.
But you know what though? Could you do otherwise?
I'm not really, because like I just want to make sure people walk away with something that they can tell their friends. That's always the thing that I want to do when I do these podcasts.
I mean, this is the second time I've talked about Malignant on the podcast, and I went through and did all the other the research again. I used about 10% of it, but still, like we have one way, David. You and I, we're researchers. But yeah.
You know what? There is something I do want to plug that's more important and more tied to you. I want to plug our ongoing rewatch of the Vin Diesel movie. It's year 3 coming up. I'm stalling because I've somehow forgotten the name of it.
Bloodshot.
Bloodshot, yeah. If you listen to this, please listen to our other 3 episodes and start prepping for our next Bloodshot anniversary. Get yourself some Shirley Temples. Email us with some new facts. You know what, Mark? I would love to be able to get someone from the movie on and interview them about it. That would be amazing. Probably really hard though.
I can try.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, we've done it 3 years in a row. We now have enough cachet to say, hey, we are fans.
Yeah, like, we're earnest.
Maybe the biggest fans.
I'm like, this is earnest. This isn't ironic. Like, we're too old to enjoy things ironically. This is earnest, and we have fun with this. All right, yeah. So listen to that. 3 episodes of Bloodshot.
3.5 hours of content, probably.
Beautiful movie, and we recorded more than 3 episodes because we lost one. But yeah, so
lost 2.
Yeah,
we lost 2.
So we've recorded 5 total episodes of Bloodshot. It's an evolving process here at Movies, Films, and Flakes, folks. But hey, thank you so much for joining me. This was a blast.
Yeah, I love it. Thanks for having me on again. I'm real excited for everyone to rediscover this movie this year.
Absolutely. So for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, for David Cross, this is Movies, Films, and Flakes. We'll see you next week.